Mark, welcome to the Democratizing SEO podcast. How are you doing today?
Hi, I'm all right. Thank you very much, Austine. Thank you for having me on. This has been a little while in the making, so yeah, I'm very well. Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Oh, thank you so much for being on. I know you're super busy, so I appreciate your time, definitely. So for today, I want to talk about technical enterprise SEO. What I usually do with all my guests, I like to ask them how they got into SEO. So with that said, how did you venture into this crazy industry we call SEO?
Do you know what? I knew you were going to ask me this, and I was thinking about it. Because I've heard some of the other podcasts. So basically, a long time ago, before the internet, it's almost no. So, do you know what? I've been really lucky with my career. I'm really grateful, to the SEO universe. I think, going back at the early 2000s, I was a technology salesman. I mean, to be honest with you, I was very bad at it, but I was in tech and I quite like tech. And then I was selling stuff, but, it was hard work, to be honest with you. But I was looking for a job, and I ended up working for a company, at the time that did, e-commerce solutions. So they did point of sale and websites, and they hooked it all up. And it was quite forward looking, at the time. And they'd sell the websites and the posts, and it'd be small to medium enterprises, the one that had a shop and wanted to trade online. And they had everything from, car parts to, handbags. And, it was good for 2005, 2006. It was, a really good product. But their SEO was terrible, absolutely terrible. So I was trying to sell a solution that was good in theory, but had bad SEO. And at the same time, there was sort of free open source stuff coming out as well, that was making the sales process more and more challenging. Anyway, they knew they had a problem with SEO, so they acquired an SEO company at the time. They're called NetCalidus, and they were they're back in sort of the 2000s, 1999. So the founders of NetCalidus, and you might ring a bell, were the kind of the guys in the forum. I changed this title tag and I stuffed these keywords into that footer. My website went up too. What about you? And it was that kind of background that this NetCalidus had. So I remember, and then so they acquired NetCalidus, obviously to help them do the sirens and obviously have a bolt-on SEO element to their business. And I remember that I went to a show. It was like a trade show, and they put up one of those banners, those roll-up banners, and it just said SEO. And I remember saying to one of the directors, "SEO, what's that?" And he just looked at me, search engine optimization. I'm like, all right, what's that mean? And then anyway, a long story short, after that, so that'd be about 2006. I really got into it, and but was still a sales team, but started to more of a consultative sale and really got into it. And there were some really good execs, really good people that were basically within the agency that had trained themselves up, that just wanted to train me up in part and parcel of the sales process. But the more I got told, the more I wanted to know. And I'm like, hang on a minute, there's an opportunity here to, if I end up doing sales and having a consultative sales approach, that's fine. But I think there's an opportunity now to get out of sales and progress into SEO. With the knowledge that I was building through talking to people about their websites and working with these great people that, were leading the way essentially for my opinion at the time. And then, I did that for about 6 months, and then I got my first ever, exec job for an agency in Northamptonshire, which, to be honest with you, didn't go very well. And then I went, I got made redundant, and then I went freelance, and now it's really down to me. And I did a lot of freelance for several years until about 2011, and I've been working client side ever since, and I've been really lucky. I've just one of those things. It just feels natural. It feels right. I'm lucky. I enjoyed Panda. I enjoyed Penguin when they came out. I was one of the people like, wow, this is amazing. What, there's an update. And then obviously local SEO became a thing in 2011, and I was like, and it was big in America at the time. So we were getting all this. We were getting, obviously, because Google Places was a thing in America, slightly ahead of the UK. So we were like looking towards all the American SEOs and like trying to piece it together for the UK. And it was just like this thing that we can't believe we're sussing stuff out. And there was a bit of a draw-dropping, eye-opener moment when we're like, hang on, the value of Google Places at the time is amazing. We couldn't believe how much was being driven by the calls. And kind of like, we better keep this back from the business, the value of these Google Places, because they won't believe us. And then we ended having an SEO approach, building citations manually and, trying to track the numbers. But, and that takes me to, where I am today, but really lucky. I've had a great career, and I'm hoping it will last me for another 20 years, but we'll see.
You've been a consultant. You started off at an agency. You're now client side. I am curious, which do you prefer?
I'm totally a client side person. Agency
I
life
thought
too
you'd say that.
chaotic for me. Yeah, did you? It's obvious, is it? Yeah, no, I've worked with several agencies over the year, and I respect them all. Amazing what they do, jumping from one project to another, keeping to timelines, logging the hours. What they do agency side is amazing. But I think one of the main things that most people who work client side would say, it's being able to see the start to the end to the middle, and then having that relationship within the business that works on the whole.
Yeah, I definitely agree. So when it comes to technical SEO for an international brand, what is it like from your point of view?
What's it like from my point of view? So the good and the bad, I suppose. From my personal point of view, it's another part of my role I really enjoy. I like the challenge around working within different time zones, accommodating that market's sort of requests. Every market's got slightly different. They all trade slightly differently. So where there might be something that works in one region, it might not translate to the other. And for me, it is really, really interesting. But as a global function, being able to take the best bits and then share and apply, and then learn within different regions. So yeah, it's chaotic, but it's thoroughly enjoyable. And I personally I can't see an improved area of working in SEO. So yeah, working for a global brand, it's got all the nuts and bolts of everything that you'd need from the hreflang to understanding each local market. It is challenging. There's a lot of stakeholders, and that's the downside. It's not really a downside if you can get it right. It's just managing it, and we're doing a really good job of building up a global SEO community and trying to keep those engaged that are in a slightly more far-flung time zones, like ANZ or Canada. So we've got to the point whereby we might have to have multiple calls on the same topic just to accommodate everyone. But we know it is appreciated. But yeah, I wouldn't have it any other way. It's really nice just to see how these markets evolve in their own right.
So as an example, let's say a CMO, who is, at a brand side, international brand, let's say, the brand is new to SEO. And also new in digital as well, right? So that's two additional things right there stacked on top of each other, right? What can the CMO expect from technical SEO?
So that's a very good question. So what we're saying is, we've got an established brand that's new online and hasn't done anything online and wants to go international.
Yeah.
Yeah. What can they expect? A big, long, complex journey, and a lot of understanding. I think, there's a lot to take on board. And I think there's a lot of trust involved, and get the right people and you will do absolutely well. But there's got to be a lot of trust from the CMO to understand that these guys knowing what they're doing. I think it is really, really critical that the CMO understands the different mechanisms within the SEO world. So, there'll be no point in having me doing content. And I think this is one of the things from my experience. I'm seeing a lot of roles, at an international level that, roles that want to try and do a bit of everything. And I think it's really, really important for a CMO to understand, actually, no, we do need a technical SEO specialist. They need to work in conjunction with, some online PR people and then the content guys. So they've got to expect that, while everyone touches on every touch point of SEO, they've got to expect that, these people and their own specialists do need to work together. And that's ultimately just trust them and trust the process, trust that it will happen. SEO, fortunately, not like in 2006, it's well documented. Google support us, as you know, way more than they ever have done in the past. All the evidence there, and just trust the process. It's going to be long. It's going to be challenging. There will be compromises. I think there's SEOs we can always put the business first. There's no reason why we can't accommodate business. Sometimes you've got the situation where, but we've got to forgo that bit of business need there for a bit of SEO. For me, there's always a compromise. And as long as the CMO understands that sometimes maybe there might be a really good business reason for it, we have to compromise a little bit or work together to get over initial bumps. He can expect over a period of the next 12 months, some really, really, really positive gains. But trust the process and do not get disheartened really. And I think that's what to expect, and it will pay off, and just grow and grow and grow and put more and more into it.
You've mentioned time length of time. In the industry, there is this rhetoric that SEO takes about 3 to 6 months, right, to get results. And usually what I've noticed is when brands don't see results within that time frame, they get very disheartened, as you mentioned. And this can sort of like sway them away from SEO. Firstly, do you think 3 to 6 months is a realistic, or probably realistic isn't the appropriate word. Do you think 3 to 6 months is the appropriate time frame for someone to look at SEO in terms of how value it's been from an international brand point of view?
I mean, it really does depend. I mean, again, I'm going to say it depends on but it really does depend on the dev team, who you've got working with you, what your goals are. I mean, if your goal is just to be visible for brand. So in a nutshell, possibly, but really, to be realistic and depending on what needs to be done, you've got to give it 12 months. I mean, I think it's, I've always say 6 months to see the green shoots. But if you launch a site that's technically a disaster from day one, you're on the back foot already. So all things being well, in a non-competitive market, 6 months is very, very reasonably achievable. But I really think there's, for me, there's steps in the process. So, right, okay, we want to achieve this by 6 months. If everything goes to plan, that will happen. But this is our end goal. And actually, if all this has got to happen, how does that time with the rest of the business? So it does depend. I think it's really, really key to have a good, robust plan and to know what your goals are and asking what they want to achieve, or what do you want to achieve in 6 months? And then we'll say, oh, actually, that is possible, or no, that isn't possible. So it does depend. But, I think if you want to do things thoroughly and well and for the long term, you're talking a minimum 6 months. And the 3 months thing does make me very nervous.
Yeah, I think 3 months is way too short. Although I've seen results within that time frame, I think the whole time frame issue gets a number of business leaders thinking in a very short time frame, which isn't necessarily ideal for their business, because realistically, SEO should be something that's continued, ongoing. It's forever, as people like to say. From a support,
it's forever, and it matures.
Exactly.
Sorry, Austin, what was that? Apologies. Yeah.
No worries. From a support point of view, what sort of support should they provide to an SEO?
Well, that's good. So support, I mean, all the support they can, training, time to self-development is really key. I mean, the company I work, we've got quite a nice approach to what we do, not just within the SEO, but the wider digital team. 70% is your day job. 10% is your personal development, but also there's 20% that is actually to look what else you can do to make your job better out of the day stuff, but what could add value. So I think there's just got to be a lot of consideration around, it's not just now, it's, accommodating the future. Training is key. And I think, as we know, there are a lot of very, very good SEO tools out there. They all have a different purpose. Some are more expensive than others, but I think today's SEO, they know what they want. They get on with the tool. Most SEOs have a preference. And if particular tools, if a particular SEO has a preference to let them go with it. Obviously there's a process to justify a business expense, but yeah, I think there's loads of good tools. And like I say, we all have our favorites, but, just to try and give the SEOs the tools they need to do the job. And then just there's a massive trust factor. Just give them the space and the trust and the time to get on with it. And then you'll see the results. But I used to work for a company as a consultant. It was every week, what's happening. And would find myself working, trying to figure out something different to say every week, but try and give them a little bit of space, but also it's really, really down to the SEO to keep the business informed as well. And I think for me as well, the little wins are important. The little wins, the little opportunities, just keep sharing, keep them informed. I think it works both ways. It's making sure you give back as well.
Yeah. So you mentioned trust there, as in business leaders should trust SEOs. What can SEOs, or what should SEOs be doing to influence business leaders to trust them in their work, their deliverables, and what they achieve?
I think, the main thing is, I think you've just got to own it. I mean, it's easy to say it was an algo update. Sorry, it's the algo update. No, it's just the algo. That's probably true, right? That's probably true. But to build the trust on that, you go, well, this is what happened, this is why it happened, and this is what we're going to do about it. I think it's not everyone, but it's very easy to say as an SEO, oh, this just happened, or just this happened, and oh, that happened, or even just, oh, the devs did something that we didn't know about, or something went wrong in the release. I think the key thing is just for me to just own it. And as a contractor, owning it and just own responsibility. And if you're the scapegoat, generally speaking, it's, from my experience, it's not something you've done, it's something that has happened elsewhere, but just own it and like I say, and just demonstrate how it can be fixed and resolved. But I think that's the biggest one for me. I think just own the trust, own the updates. And this is why this happened, and it's nothing to worry about, and we've got some more work to do. I think that's all you can do. Just don't try and blag, for want of a better expression.
I'm sure in the early days you're aware that a lot of SEOs were very good at blagging, but yes, I think these days you need to be a lot better with the communication.
It's I still get it every now and again, don't you? Oh, yeah, that's smoke and mirrors, isn't it? I'm like, no, I don't even really think it was back in the day, but it was easy. It was easier to get away with it back then. But it is.
It's definitely a connotation.
It is. Do you know what? It was still quite nice at the time, but I'm glad what we do now is more robust and more documented. And we know you do X, you probably get Y, or there's, and I think actually most business leaders and owners do understand that now. Very rarely in my day-to-day work do I find someone that says that. So yeah, we really are an established industry, which I'm really proud to be part of now. It was it was dodgy. It was dodgy back in the day, somewhat, wasn't it? But we were learning, right? We were learning.
Yeah. Moving on to working with different agencies. In your current role, you liaise with a variety of agencies that carry out different tasks or different deliverables. What is it like having so many agencies that you liaise with?
That's a good question. So I like it. Again, you've got different perspectives, but again, most of the perspectives that we see from different agencies are all on the same page. I like it every now and again. You'll get a really interesting angle on something from a different agency. Obviously in the world of, static site generation, obviously, which is becoming more and more important for sort of, headless stuff. This is something that agencies are desperate to flag and not get caught out on. I know a few early adopters of maybe sort of like headless CMSs have got caught out. I just think they're on the whole real pleasure to work with. They support a good agency can really add loads of value and pick up on things quicker than even you can if they're just focused on a task at hand. So all the agencies I work with are all really good at what they do, and there's a lot of knowledge and experience to share. And I think that's just a sign of how the industry's become more and more established. I like working with agencies, just the breadth of knowledge and the experience from different brands. It's just so much value, but it's interesting to see how the agencies are really jumping on this new wave of technology around static site generation and pre-rendering the JavaScript, and they're doing a really good job of flagging things to developers. No, we can't just put a site live without considering this, and they may have been burnt in the past, but no, from my experience, it's a real good experience, and what they do, you can't beat a well prepared agency deck that's been QA'd and glossed up is a sight to behold. So they can do PowerPoint, what I could only dream of, basically. So it's always enjoyable, a well prepped agency deck.
when, let's say, a CMO thinks of SEO tools, agencies, they might have the idea that the cost just skyrockets, right? And think to themselves, why not just stick with PPC? What would you say to a CMO who has this thought in mind?
So yeah, I mean, it's definitely happened. So the PPC costs can for a start, get out of control. I feel like budgets can be burnt a lot quicker with PPC and don't have the value, but ultimately, it's complementary to SEO. And there's all this thing that's sort of said to me years ago, and it's still, I'm sure it rings true. The value of having a PPC position and an organic position is greater than the sum of the parts. It's better to be there twice. But equally, PPC complements SEO. So where you've got those more challenging terms that you can't quite get onto page 1 for, there's the PPC there. But vice versa. If you're ranking really prominently, why spend PPC on it? So for me, I think, they're two channels that are really, really complementary. I know the bulk of the clicks go to the organic, but there are people that, just rely on the PPC. So I must admit, in recent years, I've not really had too much involvement with paid teams and stuff, but I would always stress that, the sum of the parts, they complement each other and they work together well. And if you've got a really, really efficient team, you can really, really, really refine it. But ultimately, I think it's fairly well documented as well that organic does drive the biggest bang for the buck. It's more consistent. It's more reliable in terms of, your turnover and in terms of, your profit as well. It's proven to be more and more reliable. And that is generally, within a look at analytics and conversions, that's generally quite easy to prove. So there's always a good opportunity to look into some sort of track and say, look, do you know what? For every £1 we spent for every £1 we spent on SEO, we got £50 back. There's always an opportunity. And I'm sure that, you won't ever get figured. I'm not saying actually there are certain markets with PPC, but yeah. So there's obviously, an opportunity to do a bit of maths and a bit of, what is it? The ROAS or something, isn't it? For the PPC world, isn't it? But that would be my point, obviously. And if it needs some numbers applying to it, absolutely. But, your day and night, a well-established organic campaign can mean, 24-hour exposure and coverage.
And it's more than a marketing channel, SEO, isn't it? Because it's a lot of the times it can be used and considered as a development channel. As long as you have a website, I like to say, you need SEO. It's a site. It's a channel more than a marketing channel. In fact, that's essential to running a website. And this is assuming this website is an acquisition based site, right? It's so ingrained as part of having a website that it's not something you can do without, because the consequences can be quite dire. So for example, if let's say you leave your SEO for 6 months, and within that time, there are 2 algorithm updates. It can drastically impact your visibility in the SERPs. And there is this prevention that people don't consider when they think of using SEO as a marketing channel. They think it's something that they use to get more traffic, but it's also a channel that helps you, that prevents you from losing traffic, isn't it?
Yeah, no, I completely agree. It is. Again, if you can't let it fester. There's always a competitor snapping at your heel. There's always something that wants a bit of your market share. And it doesn't take too much, for that to happen. And the thing is with SEO, it's not just the SEO metrics. There's another number of other factors now, that can impact that as well, from the UX side of things. And this is why I really like how the industry's involved, because, 20 years ago, it was just a bunch of SEOs sitting in a room looking at on-page stuff. But now, this, SEO reaches out to everyone from, the experimentation team to the PPC team and to the blog, to the content guys. And there's so many touch points, and it can add so much value and insight into multiple work streams, and just improve things across the board. And the one thing that rings true with me is that the self-fulfilling prophecy is that you improve your UX, you get more exposure, and they keep complementing itself, and so on and so forth. So yeah, absolutely. Definitely don't let it fester. There's always new opportunities as well. There's always things you can do. It's never a fixed goalpost.
Let's get into operational dynamics or team dynamics between SEO and my favorite people in the world, web developers.
Oh, well, you to say that. Oh, right, okay,
from your point, from your point of view, what makes life easier for a tech SEO who looks after several websites?
What makes life? That's a good point. Okay. What makes life a good structure in place in terms of how you work with the devs. I mean, I've worked for organisations in the past that there's a team of devs over there somewhere. You don't really get to work with them. You might put a ticket in and request it, and it sort of goes into the abyss. So ultimately, I think as an SEO, what we really want is an agreed approach, an agreed triage approach to getting things fixed, knowing where things go, knowing how to follow them up. It's sometimes a bit of a slow burn, to be honest. You might start thinking that you've got a process, but working with the developers, things improve and enhance. But ultimately, I think what you do need is a robust development process. Agree what's going to go what, and then where I'm at the moment. Luckily, we are in a position whereby actually SEO is now a consideration before things go live, so they will reach out to us. It's not always quite what we want to hear. Again, there's always that giving or taking element, but as a tech SEO that has multiple websites, a process is key. Knowing what to go, knowing how to follow things up, and just having trust in your developers. And one of my experiences, especially in the last 5 years, of that SEO is in front of developers' minds, and actually a lot of developers are considering it when they're writing it. And there's still that there still is a lot of assumptions made in the developer world, which I think obviously you kind of alluded to. It's just trying to nip those pre-considered assumptions in the bud, and then when they are brought to light, just addressing them in the most complimentary way possible.
What led to the relationship being productive between devs and SEOs?
I would definitely, the way I tackle it is, ultimately the devs know best. They're the ones with all the knowledge, and they're the ones that have invested years and years in learning to code right. No, so I accept that my knowledge is limited. I know the fundamentals, the principles of how web works, the web technology, the crawlers, but ultimately I'm not a coder. And, my angle is, look, I know you guys know how the website work. I'm just trying to ask you seemingly annoying questions to get what I need from you to try and fix things, right? So for me, that's always worked really well. Just acknowledge that I don't know certain things. But I've found recently that if you explain why you need things, and actually, it becomes quite logical for a developer, even if they're not 100% clear on, how Google crawls a website or how things interact. Yeah. Their dev knowledge always comes to think, oh, actually, no, that does make sense. And then the logic around how the crawlers work then kind of fits in with their dev background. So yeah, I always try and leverage their knowledge and their experience, and just I find as my year goes on, I'm getting better and knowing more. But I mean, there were times in my early career when I look back, I'm like, oh, I really didn't know what I was talking about. They must have been humouring me, but we got there. We got there, but I've come across some great developers that will refer to the Google blog, was it dev. The dev. Website with Google, and that will always refer to that first. It doesn't mean that they've necessarily picked the right part of the website, there's a bit going on at work around the best approach to deal with accordions, and one of the developers genuinely looking into how to code it in the front end. It's not quite how we'd want it, but we're having that conversation, and then when you shed some light on why this might be a better approach, that they're appreciating. We are then collaborating and sharing, and it's mutually received.
Mm-hmm. What do you think is the best approach for collaborating with web developers? Because some SEOs have the approach where they are very prescriptive. Let's say in a tech audit, for example, they're very prescriptive in what the issue is, what the solution is. It's very do this, right? So specific, it's very specific. Whereas other SEOs take the more collaborative approach, where they have an issue and they work with developers to find a solution together, using the developers as the lead to the solution. Where do you think that balance should be between being prescriptive and more collaborative?
It's a good question, and I really think you've got to look at your own organisation to see what the best route is. There's been organisations that I've worked for that have a real robust approach. We don't want you to solutionize. We just want you to tell us what the problem is, and we'll figure the rest out for ourselves. And then that might then lead to a bit of toing and froing, but it really does depend. From my point of view, I think though that is probably the best approach. Highlight what the issue is, try and replicate it. I always find that people, trying to replicate, it's hard to replicate a missing canonical, isn't it? Like, in terms of a website, but try and replicate it best you can, explain why you need it, and then let those guys do the rest. Don't try and solutionize. And for me, that's always been, from working in multiple ways, that's always been the sweet spot. Highlighting the issue, explaining why we want it, and letting the guys, doing what they need to do. But it does depend. I mean, some devs might want to really get into the nitty gritty of it with you. And if that's the case, that could also work as well.
Now, I would like to say from an SEO point of view, and this is me with my SEO hat on, that a number of issues, relating to SEO performance are negative SEO performance are inadvertently caused by non-SEOs, right? So they create an issue not knowing it's an issue, and SEOs only pick it up after the issue arises, right? And from a dev point of view, this is always a case of, okay, devs have created something from their point of view, which is perfect from a development point of view. But from an SEO point of view, it either doesn't work, or it breaks something, or it negatively impacts SEO some way, somehow. What would you say web developers can or should be doing to avoid negatively impacting the SEO channel?
Don't do anything in JavaScript or use SPAs. That's sort of the starting point. No, there's so much that can happen. And the JavaScript, for example, has got so much value in terms of, the ability for users on a website. It's we've got to embrace it. We know that Google admit that they're not quite there with it. For example, I think they're a lot far behind it than they actually admit to, but they, we've seen ourselves trying to index, we see ourselves trying to index JavaScript websites. It goes into a backlog and a rendering engine. It's just a chore. It's a chore after that point. So I think there are some fundamental principles that you can always sort of refer to. And at work, we're working through a set of principles when building a new site. So I think actually maybe the responsibility does lie with the SEO to make sure that these are the fundamentals. Like, we know you're going to use JavaScript, and we've got to make sure whatever JavaScript we use is crawlable. Or if we're going to use loads of it, we need to accommodate Google on that. I don't think that's going to change, right? So the ability for Google to render JavaScript anytime soon en masse quickly, it's going to be a massive resource and cost for them. So I think actually it's probably, in answer to your question, it's probably down to us really to set that guidance, and keep on top of the issues and the challenges. And so, JavaScript's fine, but if we're going to use it, we need to think of an alternative. Do even SPAs and obviously, single page apps that they're brilliant for a user. They're fast. I completely see why devs want to build in them. But if we are going to build in them, then we need to think about, we need to really be telling those guys, and that is totally our responsibility, I think, really, to make sure they get the information they need. So again, it's for me internally, working for a client side, is trying to just pick up on everything. You might be in a meeting, someone might mention something and you go, hang on, and then pick up on that, or that sounds like a back end thing, but actually that does feed to the front end, anything. So I think it really is down to us, and it's not always easy, but just keep on it. And that's the beauty of working with agency, right? It's the in-house guys can have those internal chats and pick up on stuff, and then reach out to the agency. I think this is going on. How do we deal with it?
Yeah, absolutely. And it just goes to show a number of business leaders that SEO is so wide and vast. I mean, we're just focusing on tech SEO, right? The same challenges that SEOs and developers have are the same set of challenges SEOs and content writers have, and SEOs and digital PR have. You know, it's very wide and vast, which is one of the reasons why we SEOs love the channel. But it does take up a whole load of time, especially when you consider the dynamic between SEOs and non-SEOs.
It's very true. But tell you what, it is rewarding though when you catch something and then I think we're doing this. This would be it's one of my favorite parts of the job. I don't want to say smug's the wrong word, but just picking up on those things and saying, oh, this is how we should be doing it. And then and again, enlightening people as well. I think, it's just nice. It's just nice. It's my favorite part of the job.
Now, within SEO, I like to sometimes view SEO as an area where you need to consider SEO industry, as in the latest best practices within the SEO industry, right? But also an SEO needs to consider the business that they're in and the vertical that they're in. In terms of those three things, when it comes to learning or keeping to the best practices across the industry, SEO industry, the business one is in, and the wider vertical of the business. So what competitors are doing, and what new adopters are doing. How would you rank those three things? Which is more important? Is it the best practices within SEO industry, or the latest within the business, or the latest within the vertical of the business?
I mean, best practice underpins everything, really, doesn't it? You just can't get away from it. So for me, by applying best practice is the fundamental for everything. And then if you've got your tech SEO baseline built, anything else on top of that is a bonus. And it's almost, in my opinion, you can't really have anything else without that. So for me, it's always about the best practice and laying that foundation, and then working within the business, but then, like I say, learning from those verticals as well. But yeah, I always think, start with the best practice. It's tangible, it's reliable, and then everything else will follow suit.
Now, within the SEO community, how do you keep up with the latest within the best practices from a best practices point of view?
Do you know, this make me sound really, really lazy. I've got a really lovely network on LinkedIn, and are really good at sharing stuff. So 5 minutes on LinkedIn scrolling in the feed can be really, really enlightening. And I follow some really, really good SEO leaders. I actually think all of us have heard of them. So, but really, really enlightful. So for me, 10 minutes on LinkedIn is good. Obviously my Google feed on my phone is a mixture of cars and SEO news. So that's just fed at me. So generally it's just pushed my way. Again, the massive perk of working with agencies, right? They pick up on stuff, their networks, their clients. So I find, for me at the moment, it's more of a reactive thing that happens. There's a recent collection of vlogs with Martin Splitt at Google around the JavaScript. I think it's called the SEO Fairy Tales or something, where they've got a few SEOs and they've spoken around specific challenges within a business. And that's been brilliant. Specific real world examples of proper companies that, and then actually the companies have driven the solution, and Google have gone, oh, actually you did well there. So there's just really, really nice vlogs and stuff. And then the whole sort of the search liaison piece is just brilliant, isn't it? Like, again, back in 2010, we just had the head of spam, didn't we? And that was it. So now it's a lot easier. But back in the day, someone reminded me of Webmasters World the other day, and then there was the Brandy update back in 2004, and that advice around the Brandy update hasn't aged well. It was talking about link networks and buying links. So it's interesting, but no, in this day and age, we're really well rewarded with easy knowledge and easy insights.
Yeah, the industry has come a long way since those early days.
I know. Well, I was trawling through Webmasters World. I was just saying, Webmasters World's still going, actually. So I was going to say, it's still there. It's still there. I wonder what I have to have a proper look these days. And see what it's like. Have you used it recently? Have you? been on Webmaster?
I haven't, not recently. No,
No.
I haven't, not recently.
Hopefully it's changed its tune a little bit. I'd imagine it has. Sorry, Austin.
That's okay. It's if you were to like project the next 1 to 3 years, right? Of course, we have AI, which is now within search, not just with coming with Google, but also Bing as well. Where do you see the industry headed? SEO industry headed?
Do you know what?
Let's just say within 1 to 3 years.
It's bugging me more recently, and I've said this a few times, so forgive me if anyone's heard me say this, but someone said, and it was probably on a vlog or something, that search really hasn't changed in 20 years at all. Fundamentally, it's the same. It's like, you know, we were all playing Snake on our Nokias and we were still searching. So I feel like the fact that Microsoft and Bing have really, really embraced chat, and they're using their own chat AI in their Edge browser now, aren't they? And that's part of that functionality, I believe, or if it's not, it's on. And then I know Google have had some challenges with their own chat AI, and some seminars haven't quite gone to plan. I feel like in the next 1 to 3 years, anything could happen. I mean, if Bing have really nailed the whole, you know, the AI thing, and they've integrated with the browser, we could be optimizing for Bing. Do you know what? I always say voice search. Voice search has been a slow burn. It's there. It's a feature that we use, right? But it's definitely not the search. But having said that, voice search compared with AI could really take off. And there was that other stat, wasn't there, which was a bit of an eye opener. A big chunk of searches don't get the desired result. So if you end up having an AI that can pull in all your desired requests into one sentence, it strikes me as that's the future. And I don't know, and this isn't the industry that I'm in, but if, you know, it stands to reason that if you want to say to smart speaker in 2 or 3 years, where's my nearest MOT available? You know, that stands to reason that could be a thing. I think search does need a shake up, and it does definitely feel like the advent of chatbots and AI are going to make that happen in the next 1 to 3 years. I know we all said that about voice search, but voice search is a staple now, isn't it? So yeah, we will see. I just think we've really got to probably start thinking outside the box as SEOs in the very, very medium term. How are we going to make sure we give our users what we want in an instant, first time, and make sure not just fulfilling one request, but multiple requests. We'll see. But I think we are in for a shake up. And yeah, I'd quite like the idea of Bing overtaking Google. I mean, who knows? Who knows if Bing really nailed the chat? You know, but it's very speculative, and probably won't. So I won't put any money on it or anything.
I think they have a good shot. I think this is probably going to be their best shot that they have with it. I think Google's market share will definitely dwindle, but I don't see anyone overtaking them.
No, I don't. But I'm not going to feel bad if market share does dwindle. I mean, to be honest with you, right? But I feel like it might be quite nice to have a change looking at Bing. So yeah. So now I'm definitely going to, at some point, again, that 20% of my job where I need to look at what's happening, I need to start having a look at Edge and AI, and they've really embraced it. So yeah, good for them. Good for them.
Yeah, I think it's going to be the most pivotal time within SEO search, because I think the way people search and what they expect from search is also changing. So we have all of these elements, right, just coming in together and meshing, and it's a massive disruptor. But I think it's well, for me, I think it's for an SEO, I think it's an interesting, pivotal time, and I'm looking forward to it, definitely.
I'm looking forward to it. It's making me a little bit nervous. I feel like I might have to re-educate myself. I feel like I might go back to 2007 again when I'm trying to learn new things. I know the fundamentals are there, aren't they, with search? But now it's going to be a very interesting time. No, it won't change, but there's just going to be new concepts, isn't there? And then obviously with microservices as well, and all these different things and APIs firing off everywhere, it won't change. The fundamentals are the same, but yeah, we're going to have to adapt, I think, very quickly in quite a short space of time.
Yeah. It keeps the industry exciting.
It does. Yeah. No, it does. Hopefully, we'll be at the forefront of it, obviously, as we move forward with the big brands, because people's expectation of what a website does is going to change. It's going to get more and more, people are going to be more and more critical, and actually people's perception of a website also does affect their brand light. So we don't want to be behind the curve, because there's always someone doing something a little bit better, so we've got to be on it. It's important exactly. For us and for our companies that we work for.
Mark, thank you so much for your time. We're still within the first quarter of the year. So I like to ask all my guests, what are you looking forward to for 2023?
When personally, in the SEO world, at the moment, we've got lots and lots of different projects going on at work, from a re-platform, CMS, some headless stuff. We've got e-commerce going on. I'm looking forward to getting through this year without any SEO, disasters, any SEO hitches. I've learned a lot of lessons over the last few years, and I don't want to be learning the same lesson twice. So this year, from a professional perspective, I'm just looking forward to really nailing some really key projects, and they are all from my point of view really cutting edge stuff that we haven't done before, from a migration perspective, and I don't know really. I'm just for me that. Looking forward to looking back on 2023 and going, we did do everything we could, and we couldn't have done anything better. And that's kind of been my brief. I don't want to be looking back on this year saying that we could have done it better. So that's it really. And I suppose, seeing what happens, something could really change. I'd like to look back and say that, we embraced those changes and we did a good job. And then just be in the same place as where we were. But nothing specific, I'm afraid, Austine, that I can give you, other than just get through the year. What about you? On that note?
For me, it's definitely this podcast. Yeah, definitely good. Keeping two things. One, keeping consistency. So I've decided on 2 a week, Monday, Tuesday, usually. During Easter. During Easter, I might take the week off. During December, I definitely will. During Christmas. Yeah. During Christmas, I will definitely take the time off. But besides those 2 periods, I want to be consistent with, every week and grow, on a monthly basis, which is, so far it's going well. And I want to be in a position in 2024 where I'm like, okay, it's time to expand on it.
Definitely, it's a great platform, isn't it? Podcasting and stuff. And I think consistency is the key. It's and that you just build on it, and almost you'll get to the point where people are looking forward to releasing your next podcast. I mean, and this podcast I listen to, I'm like, is it Monday yet? Is it Monday yet? So now, and if you let your audience down, but no, and also I can't quite see because it's a bit grainy. Have you got your own branded t-shirts as well? Is that a branded t-shirt? Thanks for noticing. I got like a couple of them. So it's again, just making every month I have a simple question I ask myself: what can I do to improve this month? And I thought, just get myself branded t-shirts. So it's I like it. I got a couple of them, and you'll be able to sell them under the YouTube channel where we're merch, won't you?
Yeah.
so many commercial opportunities with the podcast. No, brilliant. I look forward to seeing them on there.
Awesome. Mark, thank you so much for your time. Where can people find you online?
Do you know what so I'm on Mark Stroud SEO on LinkedIn. You'll find me. If you just Mark Stroud SEO, should come up. I did have a website, markstroud.co.uk, but it's offline at the moment, just because I haven't got time to manage it and stuff. So that's not worth a mention, is it? And I am a Mark Stroud SEO on Twitter, but I'm not very active. But if you want to find me on Twitter and DM me on there, I am on there. I'll be more than happy to chat to anyone or anything. So Mark Stroud SEO on Twitter, is probably the best place, but, I probably haven't tweeted since 2017, which is, I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing. Probably.
Are you more active on LinkedIn?
I'm a little bit more active on LinkedIn, so probably LinkedIn is quite a good place for me to go. So feel free to.
I'll have both links in the description so people have an option.
That'll be easy.
Brilliant. Thank you. Thanks a lot, Mark. have a brilliant day, and we'll catch up again another time.
Thanks, Austine. It's been an absolute pleasure. Thanks for inviting me on. I've really enjoyed it.
Pleasure. Thank you.
Best.
Cheers.
Bye-bye.
Bye now.
Bye-bye.